Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cole Memo. I hope you're all well. It's just about 5:40 p.m. Central Time. It is July 15th, 2025, and I'm excited to join you all. I hope you're all doing well. I see some of you, or at least one of you. Oh, it's the Two Dope Dudes, which, speaking of, that's one of the first plugs I was going to give right off in the episode was for Two Dope Dudes. So I'll get to that in just a moment. But folks, we are live. So if you want to drop your comments, I can display them on screen like I'm doing with this comment right here. And would love to interact with you as the show goes on. I hope you're all doing well. And just to start right off of the bat, I'm going to mention a few different links in this episode of the Cole Memo. And so, just in case you didn't know, I usually try to post a link in the show notes, and I'm going to show you that right now. You're actually seeing a little bit of well, I don't even know what to call it. This is a view of the live stream. And so, I am going to show you that if you look in the description below, you'll see a link. And if you click on that link, you can actually see the show notes for this episode, and I try to add links as I go on. And one of the first links that I have in the show notes is an episode that debuts tomorrow on, speaking of the Two Dope Dudes, this one debuts tomorrow, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's episode 100. So shout out to the Two Dope Dudes at the Elevated News podcast. That's a huge milestone. You should be proud. And it looks like, well, I know that you guys had a great conversation because I listened to the audio version today. So folks, if you want to do that, if you want to check it out, if you just can't wait, like I couldn't, you can check out the audio version of episode 100. But I'll be there. I plan to be there for the premiere tomorrow. That's July 16th at 12:15 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stop by, give these people some support. They do a great show. And you can't see it right now because I am logged in on like an incognito window, or rather I'm not logged in, but I made sure to come over here and hit that like button, and you should do the same. Check out the show, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, support people who are doing awesome things. And with that said, I just want to give a plug for an episode that I recently did with Bo Whitney. This is an episode I worked on to make happen for like over a year. I met Bo at Benzinga. Here's a picture of us. I met him after a session that he gave. He gave a presentation, and I found his data very interesting. And I've always heard his name. He's been in the game for over 10 years. Basically, any cannabis report that you read that cites data, it's probably from Bo. And that was a real bucket list episode for me. So if you want to check that out, that's episode 216 of the Cole Memo. And like I say, I'll try to put that link in the show notes. Once again, big thank you to Bo Whitney for joining me on the show. We got some comments coming in. Two Dope Dude says, "We are live. Happy Tuesday, friends." Indeed. And they also say, "Thank you so much for the congrats and everything you do." Hey, thank you. I do appreciate you. And yeah, just trying to show some love. Want to give a shout out to the Cannabis Research Institute. And I actually have to look this up. I'm displaying on my screen right now. If you want to check this out, I'll throw the link in the show notes. They recently reached out to me, and I want to see how they did that. But they invited me to attend a listening session, I think it was called. Yeah, community listening session. And looks like I recently got an email from them that I need to correspond back on. But they basically invited me to come and speak to the folks at CRI, along with other people. There were many, many other people, a lot of familiar faces, representatives from the state of Illinois, including a representative from the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Office, representative from Governor Pritzker's office, and it was a really good conversation. I was really thankful for the opportunity to talk about what I think the Cannabis Research Institute should focus on going forward. Now, whether or not they do that is, going to be totally up to them. But I made sure to take notes and prepare mentally ahead of that. I still have those notes, and I guess if you're all interested, I would be happy to tell them what I think they should devote some of their resources towards. But I'm guessing it's no real surprise to any of you if you tune into this show at all. So just to keep things moving here, I'm gonna be taking I don't even know if I want to say a break from doing live streams. What I'm working on trying to make the live streams a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more I'm just working on something is the point. And I guess while I'm doing that, I would appreciate all of your patience. I know I haven't been producing content as much as I usually do, or at least I don't feel like I am. I will say, with that said, I'll be having some new episodes coming out later this week, and I'm really excited for those. One of them is talking about psychedelic policy in Michigan, and another episode is talking about being an advocate and how you can experience burnout or even self doubt, which is something I've been going through and just candidly struggling with lately. So stay tuned for all that. And see, we got a lot of comments coming in. Oh, Miggy, I just caught your recent episode. Folks, speaking of shout outs, if you haven't checked out Cannabis Legalization News, my face keeps getting like, I need to work on my camera angle here. That's another thing I'm kind of working on is like camera setup and just all the shit, the aesthetics. Miggy has a great aesthetic on his show. Again, shout out to Cannabis Legalization News. I thought this week's episode, I guess, that was released on Sunday was a really good episode. Definitely, I appreciated you guys jumping into the text of that appropriations bill that everybody's been talking about with hemp. And yes, live streaming is a pain. It's pretty tough. Sabbatical. That's a good word. Cannabis critique. I appreciate you tuning in. And another shout out for Cannabis Critique. Great cannabis content, specifically if you're looking for reviews on Illinois cannabis. That's a great place to go. Anytime anybody's asking me for suggestions on, hey, is this product good? I don't know. Check out what Cannabis Critique has said about it. I tend to trust their judgment. Have tried some of the products that they've demonstrated on their channel, and they haven't disappointed me. So Farm bill corrections coming for sure. Yep, I think so. I think something's gonna happen. That's for sure. Two Dope Dude says, I have a camera, lights, and tripod sitting in the corner for a couple of months now. I still haven't set up the studio. Dude, I am right there with you. I just gotta get something set up here. And I think what that's gonna require, you might be if I'm looking at my grow tent in front of me. I think my growing days are that's on a sabbatical. I think that's for sure. Um, Man, I got lost in the comments here. Genetic Memory Farm said, nice, just got the internet restored just in time. Thank you for tuning in. They also say, congratulations, Cole. And what did you tell them? What did you tell them? I've been bouncing around too much. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me see what I was discussing. Yeah, dude. Anyways, I appreciate you all tuning in. I appreciate you all checking it out. We do have some exciting news to go into. And so why don't we just officially kick this off? Let's kick off this episode of the Cole Memo. Thank you all for tuning in. Or I guess what I usually do is thank you for tuning into this episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo. The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo is what allows this whole thing to go on.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're listening and watching The Cole Memo.
All right. I see what you guys were saying. You're asking me what I told CRI. Let me pull that up so that I don't butcher it. Again, this is probably not going to be a surprise for any of you that listen to the show. God damn it. I've got to sign into Google Docs apparently. Let's see here. But what I told them is probably not a surprise to any of you on the show. It's kind of like my armchair commentary, if you will. So I'll pull this up and share it, and then I'll get to other comments, and we'll actually get into the news for today. So basically, I quoted some of the people that I heard in the introduction to the Cannabis Research Institute, including somebody from the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Office. They basically said, and I quote, well, actually, I shouldn't attribute I've got exact quotes written down, but I didn't attribute them to people. I'll have to look at my actual notepad. I'm looking at my digital notes right now. But two people, one of them from the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Office, said something to the effect of, what we've done is to repair the harm from the war on drugs. And I also wrote down a quote, we're beginning to repair the harm caused by the war on drugs. And another quote that I wrote down that one of these two people said is, quote, I think this one was from the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Officer, but I'm not confident. So we won't attribute this to them, but it's a good quote. So I'm sure they wouldn't deny it. They said, quote, criminalization did not lead to good policy outcomes. So I started off by quoting them. And at the time, I did remember who they were saying because I was referencing my physical notes. But I just acknowledged that we moved to legalize cannabis based on the idea that it is no more harmful. And this is an important point, and arguably no more harmless than substances like alcohol or tobacco. And to quote the very beginning of the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, which legalized cannabis in the state of Illinois, the quote is, in the interest of allowing law enforcement to focus on violent and property crime, the General Assembly finds and declares that the use of cannabis should be legal for persons 21 years of age or older. And I said, well, since one of the stated goals of legalization was to repair the harm caused by the war on drugs, but we're still relying on the Cannabis Control Act and the criminal law as the primary enforcement tool for anyone outside the tightly limited license system. So I asked, how are we actually achieving that goal? How are we going to right those wrongs if the structure still punishes the same communities just under a new legal framework? And I said, if cannabis is now considered a legal business, why are we still treating unlicensed activity as a criminal offense rather than a business one? In Illinois, possessing 30 and 100 grams of cannabis is a felony. Let's take the high end of that range, 100 grams, which is roughly equivalent to 100 joints if you're rolling, gram-sized joints, which I like to try and do. So that's 100 joints, right? That's felony territory. Meanwhile, with cigarettes, you don't face felony charges unless you're caught with 1,000 unstamped packs, which is about 20,000 cigarettes. So I ask, how are we truly repairing the harms of the war on drugs if cannabis still carries far harsher penalties than tobacco? And then I quoted the Chicago Tribune's reporting on this subject. If you want to look up the story that I'm referencing, the headline is Legal Weed's First Year in Chicago, High Arrest Rates for Black People, a Boutique Experience for Others. And then I closed with saying that this is all actually backed up by University of Illinois Chicago research, which is who the Discovery Partners Institute, which sort of houses the Cannabis Research Institute. Discovery Partners, I don't know. It's the Cannabis Research Institute. It's all sort of under the umbrella of the University of Illinois in Chicago. And so I said, James Swartz, who is a PhD from the Jane Addams College of Social Work here at the University of Illinois Chicago, has also backed up what I'm talking about with research. And they actually let me know that James was somebody that they consult with and will be consulting with in the future. And they noted everything that I said accurately, because at the end of the listening session, they sort of said they were sharing with the lead researchers, and they said, so what we have noted for our group, because I was a part of a group, it wasn't just me. I had my time. I had about 5 to 10 minutes of time to kind of break that stuff down. And they asked me clerical questions. I, even gave them my full notes to try to make their job easier. And they noted it, and it's under consideration for research at the Cannabis Research Institute. So I really hope that that they do proceed with that. And yeah, I'm really excited that I was even invited. That was just a really cool experience. And we're gonna get to some news after I read these comments. So Critique says, "Sorry, you got some burnout going on. Seems to be going around. I just had to remind myself the process is the funnest part." Exactly. That's the whole. Thank you for saying that. That's the whole reason I got on today. Is you got to get in some licks. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep the train rolling, even if you're um, feeling like you're a bit out of gas. And swear I saw some other. Oh yeah, there we go. Rachel Berry said, "Thank you for all you do, Cole. Thank you for what you do, Rachel. I really appreciate you, and thank you for tuning in, and for always being somebody that I can uh, go to, not only as a friend but for policy. I appreciate you." Miggy says he's got to go, but he hit the like button. Thank you. And LOL. That's funny. Okay. Well, yeah, with that, we're going to keep the show moving. And we're going to talk about some news. You guys want to talk about some news? Let's talk about some news. Let's talk about some news. Hell fucking yeah. Okay, so you guys have probably heard about this first story that I'm gonna lead off with. We're gonna end the show with some Illinois focused news, but let's start off with this first story that you've probably heard about. Reportedly, let's share the report from centralillinoisproud.com. Hell yeah. Look at that. Okay, so basically, and let me make this a little bit bigger here. According to this report, federal immigration agents assisted by members of the National Guard carried out raids at two Southern California cannabis farms on Thursday, arresting dozens, including undocumented minors, in an operation that drew several hundred protesters and violent clashes with officers. Folks, this story has been absolutely just crazy. The White House, in all of their infinite wisdom, has been posting some really mature, something. I'm trying to be a little funny here because what else can you do but laugh? But this is the type of content the White House, yes, of the United States is posting. And apparently, this is in reference to, because I didn't know exactly what was going on, what the context was. Apparently, this representative, Jimmy Gomez, and you can actually see it below here, it made a statement about how this was just strawberry pickers, I guess. And the White House is posting this meme where they say ICE raids marijuana farms filled with illegal aliens. Crying Jimmy, which I guess is Representative Jimmy Gomez from California, says they're just strawberry pickers. And the White House says that ain't produce, Holmes. That's product. I don't have any words. I don't have any words. The the Department of Homeland Security also reposted this tweet, I guess, from Representative Jimmy Gomez, and says, "Chat, what type of strawberries are these?" And they have pictures of police officers going through the cannabis facility, what appears to be a cannabis facility. And Glasshouse Brands posted on July 11th that yesterday Glasshouse Brands received immigration and naturalization warrants. As per the law, we verified that the warrants were valid and we complied. Workers were detained and we are assisting to provide them legal representation. Glasshouse has never knowingly violated applicable hiring practices and does not and has ever employed minors. They say, we do not expect this to affect operations moving forward. We will provide additional details when applicable. Let's see if they provided any additional details since then. does not seem like they've made any statements. It looks like their first statement regarding this incident was on July 10th. They say Glass House Farms were visited today by ICE officials. The company fully complied with agent search warrants and will provide further updates if necessary. So definitely an interesting thing to see play out. Notably, Glass House Brands is in the licensed uh, cannabis industry in California. They also recently mentioned that they would be not only involved in marijuana sales, which of course is the term for federally illegal cannabis, they say, or they were gearing up to be involved in what you might call federally legal hemp sales. And, it's unclear how Glass House will kind of be affected by this, but it's definitely been a big story in the news. And I'm curious what you all think about this story. Two Dope Dude says nobody actually believes in democracy. Oh, good question. Did they label that tweet as AI? Yeah, it seemed like it was AI, or at the very least, some sort of like filter, you know? Oh, I just missed that Cannabis Critique said 20K cigarettes is a mild weekend. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Genetic Memory Farm says we can vote. Instead of laughing, we vote. 95 million eligible voters declined to vote, and only 77 million put the racist yam in office. You do the math. That's funny. Yeah, AI generated image. So, yeah, folks, I'm curious what you all think about this. I definitely found it notable enough to share. Wanted to talk about it, and yeah, drop your comments below if you're watching this after the fact. And if you are watching this after the fact and you're wondering how to tune into the live streams, I would say the best way to do that is to go to colememo.com/YouTube and hit subscribe. So, folks, we're going to keep this episode of the Cole Memo moving. If you're watching this clip after the fact, I might try to start making clips. You can check out the full episode using the link. Okay, so you may have also heard about this. I'm going to put it on screen here in just a moment, and we'll watch it together. But the University of Illinois Chicago, speaking of the University of Illinois Chicago, we were just talking about them. They released an internal report following the allegations of faulty cannabis blood testing that may have compromised over 1,000 DUI cases in the Chicago area. The analytical forensic testing laboratory at UIC, which stopped human testing in early 2024, had been unable to reliably distinguish between Delta-9 THC, the compound most associated with impairment, and other legal THC isomers like Delta-8. This flaw raised concerns about the validity of many DUI charges based on those test results. Apparently, UIC hired law firm Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister, LLP, I probably butchered their names, by the way, to conduct the investigation, which concluded the lab's methods should have been updated, but claimed reliability could still be determined on a case-by-case basis. Critics, including defense attorney Don Ramsell, called the report a legal maneuver to avoid liability, arguing that the closure of the lab makes retesting impossible. While ABC7's legal analyst noted the report acknowledged failures, it stopped short of confirming misconduct, leaving the door open for further inquiries and possible negligence claims. Prosecutors in Cook and DuPage County continue reviewing affected cases, with several already dismissed. So, folks, let's watch this report from the ABC7 I team, which does amazing work. Let's check it out.
DC7I team continuing our extensive reporting exposing suspect lab tests used in marijuana driving under the influence cases. Many DUI cases were charged based on one lab's blood test results that may have been inaccurate. Since the I-team's reporting, more than a dozen criminal cases have already been dropped. Now the university behind that lab has released a new report investigating what went wrong. But some argue that report offers few answers. Following revelations of flawed testing for THC in humans, mainly for DUI cases in the Chicagoland area, University of Illinois Chicago hired a high-powered law firm for an internal investigation into faulty testing at the lab that has potentially jeopardized more than 1,000 cannabis DUI cases in the Chicago metro area. Defense attorney Don Ramsell represents clients charged with cannabis DUI.
The University of Illinois hired a law firm to represent them and, in my opinion, defend off 2,000 lawsuits that they would be facing otherwise.
The report concludes UIC's analytical forensic testing laboratory should have modified its methodologies to distinguish between two related forms of THC, but goes on to say, nevertheless, the reliability of results may be confirmed on a case-by-case basis, something Ramsell does not believe is true.
Now that the lab's been closed for over a year, that means every sample is incapable of being retested, despite what some lawyer might write in a position paper.
This was unusual, I think, though, because the report really took pains to say that although errors were made and although things were not done that should have been done, it doesn't necessarily mean that all tests were wrong from the get-go.
ABC7 chief legal analyst Gil Sofer says the results of the law firm's analysis don't absolve UIC's lab of wrongdoing, with a key figure at the former lab declining interviews by the investigative team.
First, will there be a criminal penalty here? Will someone be found to have deliberately misled somebody else? Unclear from this report. It didn't find that someone had misled, but it also doesn't rule out that possibility, and I could see further inquiry there. The other question is, could somebody, the lab, be held liable in negligence for what happened here?
Ramsell says with so many unanswered questions,
to suggest that you have completed the investigation, I think, is laughable.
Now, UIC declined to talk to the I-team about the report. Cook County State's Attorney's Office says it will continue to review any cases that may have been affected by faulty testing. DuPage County State's Attorney, that already dismissed 19 cases involving UIC lab testing, declined to comment.
All right, folks, what do you think about that one? I thought that was super interesting. In the past, we have covered similar subjects. I'll give a quick plug for an episode that I did on this same lab with similar issues, similar but different. And I'm really proud of this episode. It's episode 97. I'll have it linked in the show notes. And I actually go through a court case and talk about sort of what the issues are with another area of the testing that they did. So that was a lot. It was focused on the blood testing. I found indications that the urinalysis, otherwise known as like testing of urine, was also problematic based on some subject matter experts that I spoke to and some testimony that I actually was able to sort of dig up. And one of the most notable things that I was really proud of in this episode 97 is that I actually found testimony from somebody from the group Smart Approaches to Marijuana, which if you're a big fan of the show, you might recognize that name, or if you're just super into cannabis policy, you may recognize that name, but they've been on the show in the past, which is why you might recognize the name. In fact, you can go and check out all episodes that I've done with them at colememo.com/Sam. In case you didn't know, Smart Approaches to Marijuana is not exactly what it sounds like. It's arguably one of the largest prohibitionist groups, or at least that's what many people label them as. They work at the state and federal level to prevent marijuana from becoming legal, cannabis from becoming legal. So for those reasons, to have gotten testimony from somebody who doesn't believe cannabis should be legal, but on the same hand was somebody who basically said what this lab is doing is wrong. think that's really notable to hear from somebody who does not even believe and worries apparently about intoxicated driving. They looked at these tests and they said, look, I don't want intoxicated drivers, but the way you're doing this is wrong. And I think that that's super notable. So I got to acknowledge these comments really quick. Brian Dombrowski says, hello, hemp haters. And he also says, Miggy smokes mids. Brian, I would love to have you on the show sometime. It's long overdue. Genetic Memory Farms asks, is the metabolite of Delta 8 significantly different in structure than Delta 9? I mean, we are talking about the difference of a single bond on a carbon molecule. Dude, that's a question for somebody who is way more scientific than I am. I am not sure on that. But, it's a good question. It's a really good fucking question. And, while we're talking about Illinois stuff, let's keep it focused on Illinois for just a moment. I'm going to share my screen here, maybe, and we're going to talk about how Illinois cannabis licenses are actually sitting unused, according to a report by Crane's Chicago Business. And apparently I can't share this window, so we're gonna read it. Almost half of all marijuana business permits issued to date in Illinois, mostly held by social equity entrepreneurs who tend to be minorities, have not opened for business and are sitting idle, according to a review of license statistics by Cranes. Once again, it's from Crane's Chicago Business. If you'd like to read about this, I'll have it linked in the show notes. The headline is Why Illinois Cannabis Business Licenses Sit Unused. As of June 2025, the state of Illinois had issued 694 business permits to various companies looking to run marijuana dispensaries, grow facilities, THC infusing manufacturing operations, and transport businesses. But of those, only 382 have managed to open for business thus far, according to information from the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation and the State Department of Agriculture, which share industry oversight duties. In Illinois, a majority of recreational cannabis permits went to qualified social equity entrepreneurs, applicants that had been impacted directly in some form by the war on drugs between 2020 and 2023, per the 2019 state law that legalized adult use marijuana. For some reason, I feel like that's not exactly accurate. I feel like the timeline went back a little bit further, but maybe they're talking about the applicants that applied between 2020 and 2023. I don't know. When I read that, it just sounds wrong. I'll continue on the article. The total of unused permits so far includes 103 dispensaries out of 373 issued permits, 65 craft grows out of the 87 issued, 38 infusers out of the 55 issued, and 106 transporters out of the 163 issued. So, and that's all according to state statistics. And that does not account for another 137 dispensary permits that the state lawmakers have yet to approve. The pace of business openings have slowed dramatically, according to information from the IDOA. The most recent craft grow opening was in April of this year, and that was preceded by two others that opened in March. A licensed cannabis infuser operation also opened for business in April, but no others have done so in 2025. No licensed transporters have opened for business so far in 2025, and it's not clear how many dispensaries may have opened this year, according to this report from chicagobusiness.com. That's Cranes. Still, the article continues. The raw statistics mean that roughly 45% of all cannabis business permits in the state are going unused thus far. And industry sources said the primary reason is simple: money, or to be more specific, the lack of access to it. Banks won't offer traditional business loans to marijuana companies due to the ongoing federal illegality of the plant. And other sources of funding, such as angel investors and venture capitalists, have lost interest in the cannabis sector over the past few years. The few offers for serious cash that many social equity entrepreneurs do wind up receiving are often at absurdly high predatory interest rates, which would likely bankrupt any entrepreneur who accepted such terms. Sources said to Crane's Chicago Business. That's left many license holders either trying to raise money for years on end, sitting around waiting for systemic change that may open the gates, or for an opportunity to sell, industry insiders told Cranes. Once again, this is chicagobusiness.com. This is a quote from Portia Mittens, who has been on the show in the past. Quote, getting it done has never been an issue in social equity, aka Black communities, but if you don't have the money, your know-how is not going to get you open in this industry. She says, it's never been about our inability. It's always been about our lack of access to cash. So, yeah. This is a very interesting article. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll have it linked in the show notes. A spokeswoman for the State Department of Agriculture said in an emailed statement, there's quote, not any one single reason that so many license holders haven't been able to open. But I will be right back, folks. All right. Sorry about that. Had to let my cat in the room. So he was just scratching at the door. You guys might have been able to hear about it. So I thought this article was super interesting. I wanted to bring it to your attention. There's an interesting part in the article where they say the hemp-derived THC sector, which has blossomed nationally over the past few years, is eating into the profits of all licensed marijuana companies. And that's according to Scott Redman, who is the president of the Illinois Independent Craft Growers Association. Scott has been on the show in the past. We've discussed this topic in the past. He says because hemp producers and sellers don't have to play by the same strict industry rules imposed on marijuana companies and are therefore able to undercut licensed dispensaries on price point alone because they aren't forced to pay the same cannabis, the same state cannabis taxes. So that's Scott Redman's view on it. But if you've heard my episodes with Scott, that may be of no surprise to you. He has definitely made that point clear on this podcast. He's apparently he's quoted as saying that hemp competition is killing marijuana companies and predicted there will likely be a wave of licensed cannabis businesses forced into bankruptcy or court-approved receiverships beginning later this year. He said that a lot of his clients in the cannabis space, if they could wind back the clock, would choose a different industry. I wonder if they would choose the hemp industry. That's a question I have, but or what different industry? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe like just not a plant touching industry where price compression is almost guaranteed. I don't know. I found that article interesting. I'll definitely have it in the show notes. I want to continue with a brief report from Marijuana Moment. Yeah, it's that was an interesting story to say the least. Like I say, check out the full article in the show notes. Marijuana Moment basically reported that the DEA has once again informed a judge that the process to reschedule marijuana remains stalled. 6 months ago, hearings on the proposal to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 were paused. In a new update, both the DEA and proponents say they're still at a standstill, with no briefing schedule set. The delay now hinges on DEA acting administrator Robert Murphy, who quietly replaced Derek Maltz. Another update is due in 90 days, but for now, marijuana rescheduling remains on hold. All right, folks. Well, I have more news to get to, but I gotta get to other things in my personal life. I really hope that you enjoyed this short episode of the Cole Memo. It was completely impromptu. you could probably tell I wasn't absolutely prepared today, but I wanted to hop on, plug some content that I've been listening to. Like I said, check out the show notes so that you can tune in to the Elevated News podcast tomorrow. That's a great episode. I listened to the audio version of it today. I'll probably watch the video version of it tomorrow. I love watching video content and just supporting other people, you know. Yeah, I definitely have some more news to share, but maybe we can do another live stream later this week. But like I mentioned to you, I'll have 2 really great episodes coming out. So look forward to those. And folks, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I'm sure we'll see each other later on this week. Um, Take care of yourself, folks, and we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to smash that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Take care.